I'd like to prepare people's minds for diving into something that's really deep and hard to understand here. It's going to be some heavy information here, so be ready to be prepared to be schooled and to learn a few things along the way. I know it's tough for some people to hear this kind of information, as it's not to be taken lightly. It should not be received with anything other than a somber state of mind and a sobering state of mind. There are some things that I'm going to mention that some people just wouldn't even want to envision for their world to look like. And let's just say that we simply should not ignore these things, because there is great potentiality for our world to look like in that of what I'm about to discuss, but also the potentialities that I especially don't want to see in the world anymore. We must be prepared that if we want to see these things manifest into a society and keep creeping into society the ways that they already have, and to be pretty cumbersome about it, I believe that we are going to fail so hard if we aren't awoke to the key ingredients here, that there is something more to look at than people are even aware of, including my own life, my own retributions. So let's dive right into the dialogue here and get this started. Allow me to dedicate the work of this to Mark Passio and many others who still believe in the freedom that was before our time. I believe that we became into such a hollow-centered universe here on Earth that it's just impossible to actually hone in on that freedom because of the players and key things that I'm going to bring about here. Samuel Adams spoke out in his day and was probably one of the most single reasons of many that we ended up having a Revolutionary War, as there was people out there that wanted to steal our freedoms and take those freedoms away, just as we are seeing today. People had criticized speech as we have it today. Same thing, only now it's curtailed, blacklisted, or you're just straight up banned, censored, and people are being shut off, basically, for having bloodlines or whatever of people that are of that sound doctrine, or from where that doctrine can come from, because they don't want you to learn the power that is on your tongue. And they know this stuff. They know what they've been dealing with all along. They play with people's lives. So we should be so ashamed that if we aren't going to listen to the cries of our own brothers and sisters right here in our homeland, that is supposed to be the home of the free and the land of the brave. But I'm having a problem with that because I don't believe that I've ever been free. And in that, I don't know if I have brethren out here that are actually brave. So I'm searching you to and through America. Where are you? Have you chosen your heart's road? That red road home to the Lord? Samuel Adams quoted, "The truth is all might be free if they value freedom and defended it as they ought, defended it as they ought." That was September 27, 1722 to October 2nd, 1803, and he lived. Samuel Adams was like the chief conspirator of the American Revolution. They didn't want these people to get together. They didn't want these people to talk. They didn't want these people to do anything. And the truth is, all might be free if they valued freedom and defended it, just as he says. But how do we defend our freedom when it comes from places of these covert war games that people are playing over us? It gets really hard. So before the American Revolution, and this is why I'm writing him into the dialogue here, because because the discussion needs to happen in order to get from where we are to the kind of life that I believe we already ought to be living. But he single-handedly began that American Revolutionary War because of his grit and the powers that were already becoming too powerful at its time. Now they've put out there working towards totalitarianism, and it's just like, it's beyond insane today. And people simply should get the picture already before it's too late. And your children never get to know what a true freedom ever even could have looked like, because we've become that of a slave state and more of a slave people to the government than anything else. It's sad that I can even have to think like this, but I feel it's very true and hardcore reality that we are now in the midst of. People must stand up to crooked governments when they see that they need to. And when they see the problems, we should be so subservient to these problems and just be shoved away when we have real life concerns, real life events that are shaking us to and through to the core. We deserve a better life with better checks and balances that are already being put into place. And so if they aren't going to do them, I'm trying to create a movement to man up that power to do that very thing. But Samuel Adams was probably the most influential soul of his time period for the bringing of people into that freedom that has to be valued and defended at all costs. And that is the fundamental reason behind my choosing to write on this topic of freedom, because we are in a situation right now in life in general. I'm in a bind right now, but where we've been so skewed by this truth and devalued inside of our abilities to even defend our abilities to become like a whole integer person. Instead, people are walking around just half and quarters and eighths and tenths and less than that of themselves. And from where I'm seeing things in this country, I don't know where you stand, but I personally have had enough. So this information is not for the faint of heart, nor for children or people that get easily offended. So if you get easily offended, you don't have to go any further into my work at all. If you have that kind of grit about the government, now would be the time to stop reading about what I'm going to have to say and talk about how I won't be sugarcoating my words, my delivery, in my writing, my speaking, or on any of the topics that I discuss. I don't think anyone reading the information out here is doing enough reading. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot that they're trying to stop people from reading, and it goes away. I had things happening where I was finding things that would be happening in my life, or be happening in my life, that once I go to show somebody that it was gone, the video was gone. And so it's very important to me because these people are coming out saying things that they have right to say. They have right to say it, and they have right to come out, and they have right to be recognized in their plight. However offended that people want to get, it's important to recognize these people have made it through fatalities to even bring out the kind of information that is going to be as vitally important to you as it should be easy to understand. So as this is the kind of caveat that I've always wanted to take a stand for, and it's certainly not for the people necessarily coming to my content, but for those ears that reach into that kind of dignity for truth those who do have the courage to stand up and say something when they see something is going on that's wrong. We want people to be opinionated and to not just go with the flow when things they see are going on that is wrong, instead of actually reaching into what they're currently getting into and like the agency that they're taking away from us all. It's just insanity. So these things for which I'm about to discuss can become very intense and even combative in my delivery with them. But even in making the listener feel what I felt in my life before, it's just angered me where I bear to mention it. And so if it's something that's gonna offend you, or it's something that I think, or if it's something, I mean, I'll try not to offend anybody. I mean, it's not my point to come out here and offend people, but it's imperative to me that I'm able to discuss my points and be heard, because I mean, get as offended as you like, but we have a story of our own, and we have things going on in our own worlds that people need to step up to the plate already with concern and care about for what we're actually going through out here. So I don't want my statements here to be taken any less true as the truth by nature, as if it were belligerent wages or wars against all forms of deception, or the ways that we've known that the CIA has played in mind control. So it's not a popularity contest, but it's strictly within our reason that we believe things need to be said in order to change the human condition from where we're at into where we're able to go forward with our lives in a meaningful fashion, instead of being restricted in our every movements. And then even then, there's situations now that are coming up in my life that are outright horrendous. I mean, you're talking about murder on that fucking level, where these motherfuckers need to pay people off and get rid of you lickety split. And to be frank, the current situation sucks. Just in the world in general, it's not easy for a guy like me to have a story like I have, and to be able to come out with it. So I personally hold and I censor my own self at times, because I'm afraid to speak in certain ways for like my family or other people to hear. I don't want them to feel the actual detriment in their chest that I am feeling. But people don't believe that. They think like it's all, I don't know what people think, but it's not a matter of that. I just disagree with the way that we're living, because we're not being allowed to our full potential. And then on top of it, if people are, and if people are able to be in that kind of war, be combative in their own ways that governments or anything else has wanted to place restraints upon your own ability to thrive regarding these things, one has to know that they have the right to step up and to speak out from those who believe that they have the right to silence us when it has to deal with murdering us, getting rid of us, putting upon covert war on us, street theater attempts, psychological warfare, covert narcissism, sociopathy, maliciousness. I mean, the list just goes on. And then this chemical warfare. So I'm fighting for that notion daily, as I believe that the more people that I can get interested in that I'm going through actually something real, that action must be taken, and it must be. So I'm personally trying to put something together to where no man, no woman, no child has to experience these kinds of detriments in their life. And it's not for the easily offended. Like I said, the presentation that I'll bring is not going to be sugarcoating it, so be it. I'm going to tell the truth and tell my story,
Why lie about something that could potentially bring me into a place to be that whole integer? To be able to smile. Because I don't know what it's like. So I don't present information to be liked. I don't present information because I want to make money, or I want to be popular, or make friends. Although all those things would be nice, I speak publicly because I recognize that in the crisis of this overwhelming ignorance of what I'm going through and the deception in which I'm living, I have a moral obligation to communicate what I know to be taking place in our world today in order to help those understand it so that they too can take action and do something about it and get to work. So it's a call to action, ladies and gentlemen, because there's no reason that the many of us should have to be forced to living these kinds of ways. Covert warfare games, and then all of a sudden, like, your own G's in it. Like, motherfucker, man. That's like stripping me of my life, my ability to reason in my own mind about much anything. So, the reasons I started these kinds of writings is because I believe that not enough people are willing to stand up to be accountable in general when there are orders being given that are taking away our freedoms, which include our very own government officials. When we're coming out here saying these things, we know as targeted individuals that if it were in reverse, even a fraction, even a 0.02% of what they had done to us and what they are doing to us would be stopped at once. And so, why beat around the bush about it? Your bloodline is under attack. You are under attack in the worst of ways, and then all of a sudden you can find out that it's meant to be stripping you of like how would you put that? Just wash a person completely out of themselves, shall we? I mean, that's what the chemical would do. That's what chemical warfare would do. And so I think it's really important that we talk about these things, don't you? I really do, because I don't want to see the world going into this spiral. I don't want to see the world going into this downward spiral. So if I wanted to come out here and sugarcoat things, to be taken to that level, that kind of detriment, that kind of maliciousness in our country, I'd have to be blowing up people's rear ends to telling them that everything is fine, and that everything's going to be okay, and that nothing's going to go wrong, and that there's not going to be any kind of pain in life. But I talk about getting very uncomfortable in the realities which people are living today, because there's a lot that's going on that people don't understand. There's a lot that's going on that people like me get put in, where I'm like sitting there like trying to figure it out for years on end, like what is this? What is that? And then I'm writing it up, and I'm even willing to go as far to the battle as I've had to be pushed into. People don't want to know that battle though. They don't want to even think that it exists. Oh, just go on, you'll be alright. Oh, you didn't get paid from that job too? That really sucks. I'm sorry you lost your car. I'm sorry that they set you up like that. I'm sorry. What else do you say to somebody that's having those kinds of issues? I'm sorry. I wish there was more I could do to help you. Well, in my rebuttal, I believe that there is things that you can do to help these people, and it's setting decrees against the things that are happening to them, and instead fill them with blessings and prayer, unknown things, hidden in the Lord things, the things that the Lord would want for that person, your own family. Because I guarantee you that those things are far greater than anything we could ever think of. So I might not be the most comfortable person to be speaking in a room full of people with unlike minds who don't think these ways, but I think of things on tones to be sitting well with the rest of the world around me, to be able to be well with the rest of the world around me. But this is for sure just a blanket statement because it's so far away from the facts out here. Instead, we aggregate the society. People should be ashamed of themselves for not sticking up for those who are standing up for those who are speaking in duress. We should be ashamed of ourselves for not going to the places where these people are found in duress. Because oftentimes, it's these people that need us the most and who have stories the most that are to be of an inspiring source. And if we allow the world to kill these people, and we allow these people around us to leave these people lopped off in the duress that they're being left in, you should also be in duress for that person. And that's my truth. The only way that we're going to get out from the places that we're in is to be able to look and see exactly where a person is coming from to help them fight the things that they are faced with. But if we just walk around, brother for foe for another one's mother, or a foe for somebody's grandmother, and stealing checks from their own grandmother, no, that is not the kind of heritage that I want to be speaking on, or even speaking to. Be of that of a brother, someone who when they see that person in utter pain and torment day in and day out, that they might go to them and try and stop those things from existing in their lives with them. Fight with some power in your voice for those who are threatened in their very existence to live as though they have the right to be able to live at all. Fight for those people. People have been hiding their heads in their assholes for far too fucking long, and I'm here to fucking sum it up real quick. If you know that's you, and you know it's you, change it, because you're a fucking dick. I know it, you know it, and everyone's going to know it. They're firmly stuck in their positions that they need to get their heads pulled up out of their asses and have something done about it. Or there isn't going to be anything much done about it, is there? They're going to keep on paying people off, keep on fucking people up, and keep on moving in these kind of covert war attacks, playing mind controls, psychologically making you a victim on every level of your life, without even so much as having any consequence. But as soon as you go post up, it's a serious crime. As soon as you go answer back to these covert mechanisms, the hacking, the hijacking, the being able to want to steal up your entire life type of bullshit, there has to be some very, very serious consequences coming up. Manly P. Hall stated, "It's not the wrath of the Almighty, but the stupidity of man that is causing all the trouble." And if you haven't studied his work, I think you should really think about doing so. He's a very brilliant mind. And because it took a lot for me to dig in deep in order to be able to wake up to the real situations that I was being faced with, and that humans in general are being faced with and struggling with today. Most of which, or a lot of people in which case, who are targeted individuals, don't even have a clue about it. And once they start having a clue about it, on average they claim that it takes about 10 to 15 years for a person to figure this stuff out. And so I'm calling into action, ladies and gentlemen, because it's because there's no reason that the many of us out here should be forced into having to live this way, and that there's no reason why I should have had to start even writing on these things this way. to believing that people are willing to be paid and counteract my ability to even thrive in this life. And then it turns out, like, you know, through my prayers and through my set decrees, I am being built up right by the person that tried to break me down. And I didn't know that. He was supposed to be a friend. 28 years coming to find that kind of thing out. That kind of thing just in general pulls you out from underneath you. And then they need to fucking set up their cagey ass attacks. You're not gonna get away with it, dude. You came up into my own home. You had sex with my girlfriend. You moved to poison me up through her. And you needed your own, you needed to create a reason. And so, you're fucked up in the head. You need fucking help. And I pray for you. My advice, though, is that anybody out here that's in these situations, you stand up today, you stand up now, you do something about it, and you make these people concerned about the actions that they're willing to take into people's lives. People are dying, and it's time to be simply upset about these things. Far too many crimes that are just meaningless to continue to go on and not stand up to them and not take action. If I wanted to sugarcoat the things that I've been seeing taking place in this country, I'd be blowing smoke up your ass and telling you that everything is fine, everything's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be just perfectly okay. That would be a fucking lie. I talk about the very uncomfortable realities in which we are living today, and which I am living on the spiritual battlefield level. That's just so harsh. I mean, you're not going to be able to tell me that motherfucker can't hold frame for you when all of a sudden you're coming to find out that motherfucking man has been the one spraying your whole fucking life with this kind of covert way, hacking you. Like, obviously, my presence with the Lord would probably blow him back 100 miles. But he's too caged up, and you can see it in his eyes when he was like thinking about something, and I didn't know. I'm like, dude, what's going on with him, man? Like, you're just not right. Like, what the fuck is going on in your mind, man? Like, we should really sit down and talk. And then it just got more and more uncomfortable. So I'm not going to be afraid to speak out I'm not going to be afraid to speak out anymore until I am dead, because these motherfuckers need me dead. And if that's the fucking case, look, I need motherfuckers to come into actual battle with me in that case. I mean, if they're legit gonna be fucking doing all of this, I mean, I've dealt with 23 years of abuse that was psychological and covert, where I didn't know. And it just turned into overt with my girlfriend. My own fucking girlfriend. So, people want to take these things out of statement, out of context. I don't care. Be willing to do anything that you want to do for your own selves, but I'm not going to live this way. I'm sitting here very uncomfortable in the realities that I've been faced up with today. And I've been faced up with for a long time. This is geared from writing that I started writing on about 15 years ago. When did I start this one? I don't know, it was quite a while ago. 5 years ago, at least. Well, far up their ass. So I think of myself as the aggregate of human society in that way, where people should be ashamed of themselves for sticking up and fighting for those that seek to put us in this kind of duress, leave us in this kind of duress. And then at the very truth of the core of the matter, while you allow one person to be in that duress, you should also be in that duress for that person. But instead of being in duress for that person, be that kind of person that are just leaving people in utter torment day and night, do the kinds of things that are threatening their very existence, threatening their very lives. Have they even been able to become a whole integer by the time they're 45? I doubt it. Nobody knows the kind of real thick battles that we're faced up with. And to sum it up real quick, I think they all know it. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. And they're finally stuck in that position with their heads clearly up their ass. And what they need to do is get their heads out of their asses and do something about it already, because these are becoming some very serious consequences that are going to be coming up in life in general if we don't do something serious about it now. So let's talk about it. Slavery, for starts. It's honestly the real condition that we're in. Whether or not anyone is accepted or not, or realizes it or not, it's the real condition of the Marxist society that we're in today. And the mindset of mankind is just, well, accepting of it. But that's the reality, is it's gutter trash. Slavery, created for every man, woman, and child. And somehow, you gotta figure out how to break free from that matrix. I don't sugarcoat my words, and I wish to speak on some very serious topics that should be of concern to mankind. Because the whole idea of this kind of true spirituality, to end that kind of condition of human slavery and human trafficking, it's never been okay. So let's talk about it. Slavery. It's the real condition that we're in, whether or not anyone has accepted it or not, or recognized it for what it is or not. It's the real condition of mankind today. The reality is slavery. I don't sugarcoat my words, and I don't wish to speak on anything unless it's serious topics that should be of concern to humankind. But the whole idea of this, of true spirituality, is to end the condition of human slavery and human trafficking. And it's never been okay. And it's not okay now, and it will never be okay in the future. It's completely immoral. And these people who condone it, and the social actions who perform these actions, and perpetuate the human condition in a state of perpetual duress. It's immoral, and these people need to suffer the consequences.
It's up to we the people if we're ever going to reach other people who can be helped in order to change that mindset that they have about it. But it is slavery. From the fiat currency to the way we work, especially where these covert attacks come into play, because they never allow you to the value that you can take up. They never allow you to be able to get to your reach. They never allow you to your own content. They never allow you to be able to get out from under the covert attacks. And just when you are, that's when things do get bad. And they do get bad. So what I'm trying to do here is that very work that I feel needs to happen in order to get from where we are going into a world where I believe the hearts and minds of men have it capable within them of achieving. And so people will claim that there are many paths to that kind of spirituality, and that it doesn't matter, and all of that kind of thing. But I will take umbrage to that statement, because though there are many paths that people choose to take, there's only one path to our dear Lord and Savior, and it's found within the King James. And the power that I speak on is the power of the heart's decree, and that heart's language that you can pray on to be set in you little by little from the Lord, and asking for that from the Lord. And I felt floored when I felt it coming from my own writing. And so it's hard to take it there in speech, because people don't necessarily believe in these kinds of things. But understanding a solution is where the only one true solution lies. Because when you speak in these decrees and it stops these things, even if it's not to stop it dead in its tracks, but you're like, 3,687 attacks later, and they still didn't get you, And though it's not covert anymore, or, you know, I'm exaggerating that number, but though it's not covert anymore, it's still very, it's very war-made. It's very ridiculous that someone close to me would have to have a rebuttal because of where he's went to in my life to just covertly kill me all nice up and quick. So I believe that this is a war brigade kind of thing that can happen in somebody's life, because it has stripped me from my ability to objectively be able to figure out how I can become a whole integer of me. Because now all of the grounds that I speak on in duress are completely from the grounds laid upon from the covert and the narcissistic, the bribes, the smear campaigns, the targeting of me, and the many ways that they go about achieving them. I believe even through they can have directed energy weapons, they can use poisons, they can use these chemical attacks. Little by little they can be doing things to destroy you on the inside or on the internal levels of areas, going into places of your life that no one should have the merit to meddle in. And that's the places that they've been going in for many, many years. And it's always made this ridiculous plight. And so, though I'm not trying to be dogmatic and not religious for those who are affected by the belief of that natural law or not, the singular law of love. And I just think it's ridiculous that if someone they believe the fact that if they hold up the object, say up in the air, is it going to fall down to the ground? Well, of course it's going to fall down to the ground. That's the law of gravity. We all know that for a fact, and it will fall to the ground. Well, even on the contrary of those thoughts, you could find on the rebuttal that there is no gravity, that the only reason that we're held down here is because we have a magnetic field, we have hearts. And we just stay onto the ground because it's a magnetic field. But regardless of the facts or scenarios of the sciences out there, I don't think we really need to know how the Lord works in our lives. I just think that we need to understand that the Lord does work in our lives. There's no dogma or religious belief in the statement to hold true to ourselves if it's the law that holds the universe together. The Creator, the love of our Lord, our dear and Savior. So behavior is also bound by law, but this is the problem which we have, is found in the human ego. The ego refuses to accept the behavior that it's bound by that law, and instead it wants to deceive that law and wants to pervert that law. And so long as it doesn't get caught, it continues and continues and continues. And so I beg of people to see the plight that I'm actually faced with when it comes to this kind of spiritual attack and the slavery that it ensues. Because there's no way that any year since that started, or probably any year prior to that, I was able to make the money that I could have made, be paid my worth, or what have you. I mean, I had jobs that treated me fairly. It's not like I haven't had jobs that treated me fairly. It's just the fact that once these things do happen, and then all of a sudden you're either in a situation where you are being placed in that blight or urban blight, or the situation of the covert warfare over your life. Your life is done, changed forever. You are now living an alternative lifestyle, and then it happens over and over and over and over and over. So, understanding these things of natural law and how we are inextricably forever bound by it is one of the keys that we need to know if we're going to be able to go into places that these things can't happen and these things won't happen. But in order to free humanity's mindset, we have to be willing to be free and be open about these things, to have no control over the kind of consequences that will arise from the choices of our own free will. To speak about, to create on the natural law is the most, natural law is the most occult-like information that it needs to be understood by humans, because the very little understanding of promoting this worldwide understanding of that natural law to the body of humanity, it's exactly what our work should be about these days, because no one else is willing to do that kind of work. And I honestly believe that the study of these natural laws and the natural laws and order are way above man's laws in any fashion. And especially when you're talking about the learned language that can be sent into your hearts, specifically asked in prayer from the Lord. Set decrees in yourself to ask for the decrees that are from the Lord over your life, instead of our own, because I believe that the Lord wants greater things for you and I and everybody than what we're getting.
But plain and simply put, we have become teachers of this kind of information. I thought originality was in focus and that people wanted that kind of thing, but that kind of thing I can only think of being found in Christ. If you don't find Christ, you can't find yourself, and even if people think that they can find themselves and choose themselves in the world, they're defying natural law because of the connectivity of mankind and what is supposed to be ensued by mankind in that way. But I thought people cared about these kinds of things, and they don't. They've long forgotten about these laws. They've long forgotten about their tongues. They've long forgotten about the ways that they take into their world that way. Well over a long time ago. Well over many years ago. I can't hardly find anyone who knows a thing about what I'm speaking on. There's only a handful of people that will actually come to and actually effectively say that they agree. For the most part. Either way, while these others are just not acting right, you have to know when your efforts are just not enough. You have to know when our efforts together combined are not enough, and right now I don't believe that they are, and so I'm interested in doing that kind of work because I have a message to convey of my own plight, my own story, and I've always been writing on this kind of thing because I've always been in a situation that's left me to it. The efforts that have been made against me and stripped my availability to myself so bad that I will never be able to be my whole integer, no matter what kind of retributions would be made. So we the people need to understand that in order to become teachers of this kind of information to everyone within an earshot of our voices of humanity, we're going down the path of that in order to be able to write about things which are going to be very hard topics to discuss with people that are ultimately hard-headed in the fashion and angered by these things. But the only true solution is natural laws, and natural laws set up by the universe. It's what God had given us by law. It's law. It's singular. It's not plural, and you'll realize that for a reason. It's just like, say, the law of attraction and how to apply it to your life. It's not man-made, it's eternal, it's immutable, it's conditions which govern the consequences of behaviors and beings with the capacity of understanding the difference between what is harmful and what is not harmful behavior. A worldwide common sense understanding of true objective morality and the laws that govern behavioral consequences is the only true solution to the human condition of slavery. For as long as slavery remains the occult of that knowledge, or of the occult knowledge of natural law, it will ring true that we as people will remain enslaved, and it's by the law. It means that it applies to all intelligent beings, so that it doesn't apply to lesser beings like the animal kingdom, but it's like to humans and even them. But they're not going to sit there and reason like we do. Animals don't have that capacity to reason, and if they do, it's on a smaller scale than humans do. And they're instinctual creatures, and they have the capacity to feel emotion, but we have a higher thought function of an animal kingdom, which is to use our instincts and our capacity for reason. And we should be using those reasons. That's why natural law applies to us, and behavioral laws and creation apply to the humans and more advanced things, because we have the capacity for understanding morality, and the only laws that govern behavioral consequences is the only true understanding of that current condition of human slavery. For as long as humans remain ignorant to the kind of cult and natural law, it will remain enslaved. By universal cosmic law, by no laws of man, that it will remain enslaved, but by universal law and the law of creation. If you're not familiar with Mark Passio, I strongly encourage you to engage in some of his work. The law, the real law, the law of attraction, how to apply it to your life, and to find it on his website at whatonearthishappening.com. He's got a lot of various learning tools up there about this kind of thing, and you can even get hard copies and stuff like that from his website, blah blah blah. But I like to write on the real natural law of attraction and how to apply it into people's lives, not only because many people don't know how to address the human condition, but who truly need to. They don't know how to address it. They're in the midst of it, but they don't even know the first thing about how to address it. Though I digress, a lot of like-minded people do, and we'd all just go about it in their different ways. I do believe that people have a common interest in the better of humanity, in being more amazing than it has ever been before. I have a belief that not only can we live those lives, but that we deserve to live more beautifully than we've ever been allowed to be able to live this far in our lives. So I'm just trying to take that studious mind of a people that are willing to go into places that others are afraid to go into. Because if we don't, no one's going to be willing to stand up. No one's going to be willing to actually get any real work done out here. And the people are going to suffer the greater consequences of these sufferings that we are currently seeing today. We are being allowed to grow right versus wrong. It's like the correct based truth and moral integrity, and having that natural law, and because of those intentions and actions based in it do not result into harming another sentient being, then we have the fight, where they're not based in that truth. They're based in subsequent lies, and they just want to carry out these lies in any other kind of way that they can. It's in opposition to the natural law. It's in opposition to how trees grow. It's in opposition to everything that you see in the world. Because actions that are taken in these ways do result in harm to other sentient beings. A right is an action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. So how is it that these people have any right whatsoever to continue moving the ways that they are? What natural law is all about is the objective difference between right and wrong behavior. I will reiterate that fact in the same word to communicate the same things, correct and moral, and the word is right. And we used to communicate that concept and those concepts. Correct means that it's based in truth, and moral means that it's in harmony with natural law principles. Because when you take a rightful action, that rightful action does not condone harm to another sentient being. Conversely, wrong behavior is either incorrect and immoral. Incorrect meaning that it's not based in truth. It's immoral because it's not found in the natural law. And when people speak on these things and want to attack in these ways, they do cause the real problems here. That is creating the kind of slavery that we are in. And okay, I started this stuff in 2018, so it's taken me 6 years just to get from when I first started this project. So I just want people to understand that too, because it is really hard to come out here with these things, and it has been hard to get to a place where I'm able to, and now that I am, I'm being riddled out of it as fast as I was able to get in here anyway. And oh, fuck, who would have thought, man? You can't properly define a right and give it its definition of what a right is. Define that right behavior even is the exact same thing as losing our rights, because people have no sight of what these things actually mean, and we do lose sight of what is actually taking place. We do lose sight of what's actually going on in our own realities. They do not understand what a right is, or a right is, because it does not do any harm to any other sentient being. It's morally good, it's justified, it's acceptable, it helps people grow, and it's the definition of what a right is. And it's as simple as it says. People don't know these things, and they have to do their research in order to understand these things. I'm not just coming out here saying what is. I'm coming out here saying my opinion, and I don't really care what people have to say about it, because I've been placed in urban blight. Matthew Murden will probably never get to live his life ever, and if he ever is able to, it'll be a fucking miracle, because of the way this fucking cage ass bitch just moved in his life. If you watch the movie K-Pax, it's like that alien who comes to Earth and interacts with the primitive human beings that can't understand his mindset. And when he was asked if the planet had a government, he says, we have no need for government. And they ask, well, how do your people know right from wrong? And the answer to that is, every being in the universe knows between right and wrong. And the real answer to that question should be that it's common sense knowledge. People know what's right from wrong. They're choosing wrong, they're going with the wrong. They want to pretend like all of these things aren't taking away their tongues, aren't ruining the minds and hearts and of men, women, and children. But they are, wickedly so, and on a purposeful level. Graven images, all the way down to everything else that's going on in the world. So we're all backwards in the species that we're in as humans, and I need to share this information in a series of these vlogs and other creations, because people need to be explained what is right, because they're getting it completely wrong. They need to be explained what their natural rights are, and what what wrong behavior is. A lot of times I sit up late at night and half angry about the way the world is currently. I find humor in how ridiculous all of this must sound to people who don't know why I would ever want to do or come out here to say the things that I come out here saying. But I write on deeper levels of trying to communicate the truth to readers, or the people will hear it for something else other than what it is. But it's pretty ridiculous to me that even I feel the need to have to write the way that I do, that I feel the need to have to come out here the way that I do. I just want to play my drums, and playing my drums is like throwing me in that way. And so I thought there's something more to that, and I did. I figured out that there was more to that, and then it's like you're trying to wake up from that reality real fucking fast, because no one should have to be faced with that kind of falling out. You want to fucking kill me up quick? You gotta fucking put a bullet in my head, bitch. And if you want to fucking fight fair, you ain't nothing but a coward. You ain't nothing but a bitch. Because of all the long-standing of abuse that this man has done to me, I don't even trust my surroundings. And that's real how it's been out here for me, nigger. That's how it's really been out here for me, nigger. And I say it that way because I am like a fucking nigger. I'm a real G out here, simply fucking trying to base the facts that nobody else cares. And if I'm not gonna be the one to care about it, do something about it, and be the aggregate of society to share my real story, then so who is? Who's gonna come to my rescue? Who's gonna be there for your rescue after they kill me? Am I going to be able to share my worth with people in any kind of real-time way while I'm alive? It's just sad. It's just fucking impeccably sad that people should see these kinds of things as if it's just, what do they think? I need some kind of medical? Well, even if I am lopped off in a little crazy way, but with what I'm saying, you don't think that these things are leaving a person in duress? Leaving in a person in a real way, and then see me as the me of today, as if the me that you're seeing of me of today would even exist if it wasn't for these fucked up things happening over and over in my life. But that's just the fact is that people have been oppressed and treated so badly for speaking up on levels at which I wish to, and I wish to get even louder than that, because who cares? Most people don't understand that because they've never once had an experience of a system doing anything to break them. They've only had maybe the spirit of the broken humanity, I had a ticket, this happened, the hard knocks in life. But if they have that on top of this covert narcissism, they have this on top of this hack and this hijack that can come up into your life and treat your life as if it's something that they just want to steal up from underneath you. That's not just a fucking hard life. That ain't even a life at all. You fucking just murdered that motherfucker right there in the fucking flesh. So I don't care what people want to say and half talk around this motherfucking shit, because I got something to say, because I've lived through this shit for many years. Trying to hone in on my own reason to create my own rebuttals back against these kind of covert warfare attacks. And look, I haven't been able to fucking get on a phone and be like, and be making these things. Maybe I just didn't even have it in me to do it. You feel me? So it's been really hard for me. Maybe I was born to be a drummer, So I don't know, I always tell people to try and live more beautifully with humanity than they've ever been able to live before, because I feel that not only they deserve that, but I deserve that. Many other people that even feel that they don't deserve these things, if they were to ever come to their senses about Jesus and finding themselves in Jesus, they would realize that they deserve that too. But people just want to trend away from the natural law of things, the natural order of things, and the law of love. No, or the law is love. But I believe that we go back to these ways, we go back into these kingdom ways, our dreams will be unimaginable. I believe that our dreams will be taken to new heights in ways that you and I wouldn't even be able to fathom. And so, as a student to what I'm trying to teach in that hearts' language, I hope that you keep your hearts out here, because the many laws and the many ways that all of these sentient beings want to cause harm to other people, it can come in all forms of attack. Government, both sides of the equation, the healthcare departments, other places that are meant to help you, other people that are meant to be there for you, the news, the free press, and anywhere else that's meant to supposedly give you a right to freedom of speech and to be heard. And it's all a crock of shit. Oh, and please follow my work on to the next project, because this is going to get good.